To you all, a very warm welcome to ETV News. I'm Grum Tariku. Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dina Mufti said Ethiopia believes that HR 6600 draft bill does not measure up to the level of historic relationship between Ethiopia and the United States. The draft bill introduced by members of the House of People's Representatives Tom Malinowski and Yang Kim last month proposes various forms of sanctions, including suspension of security and financial assistance to the Ethiopian government. It would also require USA to oppose loans by international agencies such as the World Bank and International Monetary Fund to Ethiopia and Eritrea, according to the document. Tigis takes up Ethiopia's news agency file.
In an exclusive interview with ENA, Foreign Affairs spokesperson Dina Mufti said the government of Ethiopia believes that the HR 6600 bill does not measure up to the level of historic relationship between Ethiopia and the United States. He further explained that although there might be some hiccups between these two countries, Ethiopia desires to strengthen the bilateral relations with the US-America.
Ethiopia, in collaboration with the United States, has contributed immensely in fighting terrorism and in bringing peace in the region. So Ethiopia is in need of strengthening this collaboration. Let alone between countries, even amongst families, disagreements do happen, and sometimes you might hate to even look at each other. Ethiopia's desire is to strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries.
Dina stresses that the draft bill seriously affects the livelihood and economic activities of the Ethiopian people, and it also doesn't measure up to the level of historic relationship between Ethiopia and the United States.
We don't think the bill HR 6600 will be able to measure up the level of historic relationship between Ethiopia and the United States. No matter what the bill do have content-wise, it doesn't help either Ethiopia or the United States. It only ruins the bilateral relations for countries.
However, there is a strong movement against this bill by Ethiopian diaspora. Dina urged the diaspora community once again to repeat the hashtag No More Movement experience to fight the endorsement of this bill.
We hope that since we have friends in the Congress that they will speak up against the endorsement of the bill, and activities are underway. The Ethiopian diaspora community as well will play a major role regarding this. For instance, the current protest by both Ethiopian and Eritrean community jointly will be able to benefit a great deal.
The ambassador also insists on the diaspora community to pursue their protest against the endorsement of the bill.
Ethiopian ambassador to Kyrgyz Republic, Adam Mohammed has presented his letter of credence to President of the country, Saidar Shaparov, on Tuesday. Ambassador Adam is a non-resident ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of Ethiopia to the Kyrgyz Republic. During the occasion, the President underlined that Kyrgyz Republic welcomes his appointment and looks forward to working in collaboration on areas of mutual interest in order to advance common national interest. Formal diplomatic relations between Ethiopia and Kyrgyz Republic were established in 2016, according to Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The two countries enjoy common features essentially to further strengthen their bilateral and multilateral diplomatic relations in a range of areas.
Hey everybody, behind me are the Adwa Mountains. If you've never heard of them, don't worry about it, but look it up.
We just climbed to the top of a very small hill. Felt like a mountain. to go see the best viewpoint of the battle site. I am slightly out of breath, I don't know if you can tell, and might have on improper shoes.
You are watching ETV News. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed announced the appointment of senior officials to 2 federal public institutions. Accordingly, Tsaga Aragga has been appointed Deputy Commissioner of the Ethiopian Civil Service Commission and Nuguse Mitiku as Director General of the Ethiopian Management Institute. Previously, Tsaga Aragga was Commissioner of the Federal Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, whereas Nuguse Mitiku used to be CEO of the Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation. Sudanese Interior Minister Lieutenant General Anan Hamid Mohammed Omar expressed hope that the recently opened Matama-Galabat border checkpoints would further accelerate the flow of vehicle and trade between Ethiopia and Sudan. Ethiopia's ambassador to Sudan, Yibelt Al-Amro, has had a meeting with Interior Minister, and the two sides discussed ways of easing up regulations governing Ethiopians living in Sudan while providing expedited and friendly services to Ethiopians who chose to return home. Ambassador Amro briefed the minister on the situation of many Ethiopians living in Sudan that need support from the government. There has been edible oil shortage in Ethiopia market for over the last 2 weeks. A liter of edible oil is sold for 200 birr, becoming a major agenda among consumers. Hoarding of produces is one of the reasons. Hoarding of produces in informal warehouses was considered to be one of the reasons for the shortage of edible oil in the market. And the government says it is importing over 12 million liters of edible oil. Sintayo Tamrat has more on this.
Finance Minister Ahmed Shide briefed the media that over 4 million liters of edible oil has already been imported and distributed to different areas.
በአጭር ጊዜ በመንግስት በኩል 12.5 ሚሊዮን ሊትር ዘይት በአስቸኳይ በአፋጣኝ ተጓጉዞ እየገባ ይገኛል።
The government is importing 12.5 million liters of edible oil in swift manner. Currently, about 4.8 million liters of oil has been transported via train and is being distributed to consumers. The remaining 7.7 million liters is on the way from Djibouti.
The minister also said the government is purchasing about 150 million liters of oil to be imported in the next 3 months.
አሁን ያለውን እጥረት እና የእጥረት አመለካከት ጋር የተገናኙ ጉዳዮችን ለማስተካከል
To avert the shortage and the attitudinal issue which resulted in the shortage, the government decided to import 150 liters of edible oil through 2 state-owned development enterprises. A quick purchase process is being made, so 50 million liters oil will be imported in each of the next 3 months. This will highly improve the supply in the market. In addition, companies that are interested in importing oil have been licensed to do so.
The Ethiopian government has been making tax exempt for food items importation, including edible oil. Over the past 3 years alone, the government has made a 23.7 billion birr tax exempt on oil importation.
Entrepreneurs in Jimman City are said to be detrimental to create job opportunities for themselves and others, but lack of market and workstations prevent them from working with their full potential. The Jimma administration, for its part, said it is working to identify and fix the problems in the sector, adding that it is working to transform small sectors into industry. Johannes Freetown presents the full story.
Although there is a long-time experience in metal, leather and wood crafts in the city of Jimma, it has not been able to provide the necessary benefits to the region and to the country due to its inability to support the sector in a modern way. To boost this sector, Jimma city administration is mobilizing the unemployed youth and positioning these skills.
ወደዚህ ስራ ያው የተሰማራ ነው በማይክሮ ስልጠናት ሰጥቶን ነው
We are engaged in this work with training. We chose the job and we are happy to do it because it is a handcraft profession. Although the work is not very profitable, we are happy that we are working with so many people. For example, when we make a belt, there is a special person who sews and who make a hull. It's all about teamwork.
በዚህ ስራ በጣም ደስ ብሎኛል
There
are many types of works that we do. There are some works that you do not see here. We do with customer orders. We have good experience in woodworking near Jimma. For example, we make coffee tables, decorative wood for the building, beds, various doors and ornaments, and more.
However, experts say that the frequent shortage of raw materials and a shortage of markets are hampering their work. Jimma City Job Creation and Vocational Support Office Head Yazid Abagro said support and monitoring are underway to develop handicrafts into industry level.
There is a market problem between providers and users. The solution is to set up bazaars. We are encouraging them to use bazaars organized at the federal level and in other regions. There are also problems in connection to supply chain with leather due to COVID-19 and lack of foreign currency. To address this, it is planned to use local industrial parks and upgrade small businesses to industry level.
According to the head, closer to 9,000 users have so far been recruited in various fields in Jimma.
According to UNFAO report issued in March 2022, the overall rise in cereal price last month was driven by an 8.5% increase in the FAO vegetable oil price index, a new record high. Last month, the cereal price index increased by 3% over January. According to Reuters, due to the war between Russia and Ukraine, one of the world's breadbasket nations, has driven wheat price to 14 years high, forcing bread consumers to eat the cost. Daniel Kasaun has more on this.
This means the central price index increased 3% over January. The report of Reuters data from March 2022 showed that the war between Russia and Ukraine, one of the world's breadbasket nations, has driven wheat prices to 14-year highs, forcing bread consumers to eat the cost.
At the start of this year, before the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we were seeing the global economy on track to recover very quickly from the Omicron wave. But now we have this major shock, and it is a major shock, and we will have our next forecast in April, but everything points toward the downgrade, just seeing what's happening at this point.
The World Food Programme said supply disruptions from Russia and Ukraine, which together account for 30% of world wheat exports and 20% of corn exports, will erode food security for millions of people, with the Middle East and North Africa especially vulnerable due to their reliance on imports. Oil and gas prices have also showed spike due to sanctions against Russia, while costs of freight and raw materials like steel were already soaring due to pandemic-related supply chain breakdowns. According to UNICEF 2022, climate change and its resulting effects of enormous land degradation and significant depletion of pasture in Borana zone is pushing pastoralist communities to the brink.
In terms of the rest of the world, the increase in commodity prices, look at oil and natural gas, wheat, corn, metals, everything has been rising very sharply. What that does is reduce people's real incomes, their purchasing power, and that slows down demand. And then that has spillover effects to the rest of the world through international trade. So that's one major channel. And we're seeing countries with already high levels of inflation having to grapple with this.
In Somalia region, prolonged drought could be attributed to below average rainfall during this year's rainy season, which in turn damaged grazing lands and caused a shortage of water for people and fodder and water for livestock. The recent unprecedented skyrocketing of price of edible oil is indeed a matter of concern that the government is trying to address. The Minister of Finance recently reported that the government has purchased about 5 million quintals of wheat as well as 12.5 million liters of cooking oil. The purchase was made in the past 2 months as authorities moved to stabilize the increased food inflation in the country. Apart from possible shortage, it would certainly increase the rate of inflation not only on food and oil prices, but on the entire economic and social service sectors.
Next up, Forex update. Let's have a look.
Welcome to Freetown. My name is Lansana Mansare, commonly called Bami Boy. I am a filmmaker. I am based in Freetown. I run a media collective called the Freetown Media Center. Freetown is my home.
The capital and largest city of Sierra Leone, Freetown, is a major port city along the coastline of the Atlantic Ocean. Around 1 million people call this city home.
In Freetown, you find different people from more than 12 ethnic groups that we have all living in this space.
The area around Freetown was settled in 1787 by freed slaves. It became a melting pot for liberated African and Caribbean settlers. The cotton tree in the city center reflects Freetown's unique history.
After the abolition of slavery, freed slaves from the Nova Scotia settled here, what we now know as Freetown, and that cotton tree right there was the place where, they had their services.
Freetown is Sierra Leone's financial hub. The city's economy revolves largely around its natural harbor, Deepwater Quay, the biggest in Africa. Since making the switch to a filmmaking career, Lansana Mansare's new workplace looks very different. One of his documentaries, a film about the Ebola outbreak in Sierra Leone, was nominated for an Emmy Award in 2019. It was the first ever West African film to receive this accolade.
Here is my studio. I work from here. I spend a lot of time here working. From morning sometimes to night, I'm just editing, films and recording sound also. So I spend a lot of time in here.
Lansana Mansare is certain he will never run out of stories in a city like Freetown.
Much love from Freetown.
Somalia failed to complete elections for the lower house of its parliament. It is said that another delay in the electoral process that should lead to the appointment of new president. Kasaun Chane has more from Africa.
The deadline for completing the appointment of members of the Law House to 15 March had made no announcement by early Tuesday evening. On Tuesday, the Federal States of South-West and Galmudug concluded the election of their representatives, but 40 of the 275 seats in the Law House remain to be filled in as three states: Jubaland, Hirshabelle, Puntland, according to African News. The closure of the Law House elections is a crucial step towards the election of a new president. Under Somalis complex system, federal state assemblies and delegates invested by myriad clans and subclans choose lawmakers who then appoint a president. A troubled country in the Horn of Africa that has been facing an insurgency by radical Islamist al-Shabaab for 15 years, Somalia has been waiting for more than a year for a new head of state to be elected. President Mohamed Abdullahi Mohamed, known as Farmajo, has been president since 2017 and his term expires on 8 February 2021 without having reached an agreement with regional leaders on the organization of elections. The announcement in mid-April of the extension of his mandate for 2 years had triggered armed clashes in Mogadishu. In a gesture of appeasement, Farmajo had charged his Prime Minister, Mohamed Hussein Rabel, with organizing the elections, but tensions between the two men escalated afterwards, delaying the process.
The world